In this sublesson, we're going to introduce row-level security, we're going to demo setting up row-level security, and then we're going to discuss some next steps around row-level security. Okay, so quickly, let's first introduce what row-level security even is and why you'd want to go about using it. So what row-level security allows you to do is secure your data at the row level. So for example, what this means in our sales data mart is if we wanted certain people to only view United States information and certain people to only view information out of Canada, we could go in and set up a role in the Power BI desktop that basically filters the data set down to United States or Canada, depending on which one of the roles you actually reside in. Now, this is a fantastic way to go ahead and manage your security and is light years ahead of what people have had in other reporting tools and what you've even seen inside of Excel in the past, because this allows you to really start finely, grainily controlling your data in your actual data mart itself. So we go ahead and initially we'll set up some roles in the desktop. We will configure those roles with the necessary permissions using 𝒂𝒂𝒓. And once again, this is all done in the desktop. So we're going to get ourselves back into the desktop for the very last time. Once we're all complete setting up that, we then take that data set and PBX file and publish it into the service again. So we'll do a republish of our information. And then once we get into the service itself, we'll start adding people into those roles so that when they log in and are part one of the roles, let's say United States or Canada, they will only see the data that pertains to them. And once again, a lot of times what I've seen people do in the past with Excel spreadsheets is they would take the Excel spreadsheet to embed this type of security and just carve the Excel spreadsheet up into different spreadsheets based on their territory. So maybe one for Canada, one for United States, one for United Kingdom, and the rest of the territories. And that would be kind of the rudimentary way of doing things using Excel. But now inside of Power BI, we have ways to go ahead and once again create a single report and take advantage of security on top of that. A new piece of security that's been added into Power BI that is still very new to the tool itself. It was only introduced back in February of 2021, and it's beyond the scope of this class, but it's worth mentioning now, is what's called object level security. So now where we can go in and start controlling columns of data and individual tables. So this is new and emerging functionality inside of Power BI, once again, beyond the scope of this class, but between the two, you're going to have some very cutting edge ways to go ahead and secure the data you want to share with your organization. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the supporting file open for this particular sublesson. So we're going to open up the sales data mart that is in the lesson 6 folder, and we'll give it a moment to go ahead and open. Okay, so my desktop file's open here. What we're going to do first here is go to the modeling tab. So we're going to click on the modeling tab, and then over under this securities group of commands, we can see that we've got something called manage roles. So first we're going to go ahead and get our role set up. So I'm going to go ahead and click on manage roles, and we're going to get prompted with this dialog box here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create 2 roles. So I'm going to go ahead and click the create button here to go ahead and create our roles. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create our 2 roles. So I'm going to create one called EU and UK manager here. So I'm going to go like this. I'll go ahead and create that one. And then I'm also going to go ahead and create a role called Pacific Manager. So I'm going to go in here, type in Pacific Manager, click on create. Okay, so we have our 2 roles here. Oops, I actually got one too many here. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that one there. Go ahead and say yes. And now what we need to do is go into each one of these roles and actually configure them with the necessary filters. So we've got the EU and UK Manager role set up. I'm going to go down to the table side here and click on Sales Territories. So what I'm going to do here is take this piece of 𝒂𝒂𝒓 code, like so, and drop it into the expression builder here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on this to verify this 𝒂𝒂𝒓 expression to make sure it's correct, and it looks good. So now what will happen is if somebody logs in and they're part of the EU and UK Manager role, this filter will be applied to the data set so they can only see data from these 3 countries. Okay, so let's go to the Pacific Manager and do the exact same thing. So I'm going to take the sales territory region, drop that code in there, and looks like I did it in the wrong table. So I'm just going to back that out, go into sales territories and do the exact same thing. Once again, I'm going to check my syntax up here, make sure it's all good. Now my 2 roles have been set up. So I'm going to go ahead and click save, and then we're going to go ahead and test these out. Okay, so what we want to do here to test these out is once again, in the modeling tab, I'm going to go back to the security group, and I want to click on this view as. So I want to see what's visible to people with different security roles and permissions. So we're just going to mimic what this would look like if somebody actually logged in with one of these roles. So right now, keeping in mind you're a developer and you're going to test all this stuff out. So I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, let's run this report as if I'm the EU and UK manager role. Go ahead and click OK. And what we're going to see here is that now the report changes itself. We can see it says at the top here, now viewing as the EU and UK manager. And what we can see here is hidden in behind this drop-down box here is we can actually click on this here, and the only 3 countries that show up in the country drop-down box are the ones we have access to. So how is this working? So once again, this is a great way to recap the filter direction back down here in the data model. And over here in the sales territories, we essentially applied a filter right here to say that the EU and UK manager can only see France, United Kingdom, and Germany. And once those filters are applied, it goes down into the sales table because the filters flows direction here and narrows the result set down to the data that that person can actually go ahead and see. So I'll go back over to the report. And now let's go ahead and we'll stop viewing as that manager. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Pacific manager, click OK. And now we're viewing as the Pacific manager. If I click that drop-down box, once again, we're going to see Australia, and the data is reduced down to Australia. Okay, so that's great. We've got our roles set up on the desktop. We've verified that they're set up the way we want. Now what we need to do is actually get this into the actual Power BI service. So what I'm going to do here now is go back to my Home tab, and we're going to get ready to run the publish process. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to stop viewing as that role and get ourselves back to the default state. Once again, a reminder that the way that the report is set right here with these filters here, that's how the report's going to be published, and it'll keep those filters as its default view. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click the publish button here to get this into the Power BI service. Once again, it's going to remind me to go ahead and save my work before I go ahead and do that. It's going to go ahead and push this data set into a workspace. I first have to choose the workspace I want it to go into. My workspace is where it's going to go. Click select. We are going to be prompted here with a warning saying this is going to replace a data set and may impact 2 reports and 1 dashboards. So if I want, I can actually go and view the impact of this change in the Power BI service itself. And I know things are going to be fine here. So I'm just going to go ahead and say replace. So I'm going to go ahead and push that information up into the service, and we'll go ahead and give it a moment here. And we can see that the publish process was successful. So now I'm going to go ahead and get myself into the Power BI service. Once again, a couple different ways to go about doing it. We can actually click on this open salesmart.pbix, but I'm actually just going to go to my web browser. I'm going to say got it here. To close that off, I'm going to go into the web browser and open up my workspace. Okay, so I'm in my Power BI My Workspace, and now I can see I've got the dashboard, report, and the data set here. We can also see that everything has been recently refreshed. So as of right now, these times are actually a current refresh of this. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm actually going to go into my actual data set. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the sales data mart. Okay, so let's go on to the sales data mart here. I'm going to find the 3 ellipses right here. I'm going to click on this. And what we can see here is a set of commands here. So I'm going to go to the security command right here. And what we can see now is we're being brought to the row level security dialog box. So now what I want to do here is I could go in and add in various people into this group here. So I can go ahead and add people via email address as individuals or groups here if I wanted to. So I'm not actually going to go ahead and add any people into here. I'm just going to show you mimicking this on the service as well. So now what we can do is we'll click these 3 little ellipses and actually we'll test the security out in the service itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take a look and see what this report looks like if we ran it as the EU and UK manager. Let's click on the ellipses, say test as role. Now it'll bring it back to the report as we saw it back in the service. And we can see now that we're viewing this as the EU and UK manager. And if we go to the drop-down box, here are the actual countries we can see. So basically the exact same thing we saw back down on our desktop. So once again, we really like to go through the progressions here to make sure the security is exactly what we want. Things are working, got published into the service properly. So we're constantly testing the things out. Now we're ready to start adding people into those individual roles, either via individual email addresses or groups. So a few different ways to go about doing that. Okay, so that's as far as we're actually going to take this example here. So I'm just going to go ahead and go back to my role of a security dialog box and leave this discussion here. Often what will come up as some additional topics here, what is called dynamic role level security. So in this case here, this data model we built up does not have a security model that we can borrow from. We actually have to go ahead and create it on our own. And this is a very common scenario in a lot of people's analytics as they're pulling data from spreadsheets and text files and maybe various different sources, as there isn't a security model built around it. They need to do that on their own. But what if you have a security model already in place in a source system? Then what you can do is take advantage of what's called dynamic role level security. Now that is beyond the scope of this class here, but I just wanted to leave you with that just in case you say, wait a minute, I've got a security model in a system that I want to go ahead and implement. Why would I go ahead and recreate that in Power BI? You can actually take advantage of that to go ahead and secure that. And just as a final reminder, some really new stuff that's come out in Power BI as of the end of February 2021 is what's called object level security. So I'm personally very excited to start taking a look at that because there are many different ways to go ahead and secure your data inside of Power BI to really give that robustness around a security model, to give you the confidence to distribute your information out to individual users. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this sub lesson on row level security.